Hey everybody, welcome to Crazy Kids Coding Classes. So today we're going to be working on a supersonic themed game. You can see it's really cool. He's flying in space. He's getting knocked over by these big boulders, trying to collect coins. It's going to be a really awesome code that we're building together. So just a couple of reminders before we get started. If you'd like to today, feel free to leave a link in the comments below with a link to your game so we can check those out. I'd love to see what you created. Other people can go in and see your code. And then keep in mind that we have live classes. So if you'd like to take a live class with us, there's also a link for that. This is a great place to meet other kids, to have a place to ask and answer questions. Those classes are held over Zoom, so you can do them at home. But it's a really fun environment to meet other people who like to code. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. You'll need to pull up today's starter pack. So when you pull up the starter pack, it'll take you to a page that looks exactly like this. The link for that is in the description underneath the YouTube video. So pull up that link, follow along with me. It works really well if you have two screens. So you'll have one screen where you're able to watch the YouTube video, another screen where you're building your own game. If you only have one screen, that's okay. You can make it work, but make sure you have a keyboard, and a mouse is always helpful. And then you can put that YouTube video on like an iPad or something like that, if that works for you. Okay, let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So today we're going to start off adding our music. So I always like to do this on the stage. These starter packs that I designed for you, I always put the theme music in the stage. So click on stage. And then in the code tab, there's just 3 coding blocks that you're going to need for your music. The first one will be the green flag. So click on your yellow event circle and bring out that green flag. Okay. And then in your orange control circle, we'll need a forever loop. And remember, whatever coding blocks you put inside the forever loop, those will play the whole game. They'll last the entire game. Okay. So we want our music in there. That way, after the song is over, it'll repeat and play again. So whenever you're looking for music or sound effects, that's always in the sound circle. So click on that. And then the top block, play sound until done. There's several different Sonic songs in here. Go ahead and take a minute, figure out which song you like, and just a reminder, if you click on the green flag up here in the top right corner, that's how you'll turn your game on to hear the music. So pause the video and take a minute to do that. Okay, next thing that we need to do, let's go ahead and get Supersonic flying today. So click on your Supersonic sprite. Make sure you're on your code tab, and let's give him a green flag to get started. That's almost always your first coding block, right? So bring out that green flag, and then let's decide where we want him to start. You're going to want him somewhere over on the left side of your game. I know he's upside down right now. We'll fix that in a minute. But go ahead and put him where you want him to begin. I'm going to just stick mine right here on the left side and then up in the middle. So in your blue motion circle, the 5th block down says go to X and Y. That means we want Sonic to go to these exact X and Y coordinates. I'm just going to call him Sonic from now on because Supersonic is kind of a mouthful. So that is your second block. Then we want to, we're going to be using variables today to decide how high or how low he'll be floating up and down throughout the game. So the first thing we want to do is go to our dark orange variable circle, grab that 3rd block down that says set rings, and we're actually setting our Y velocity, okay? If ever you're doing this on your own without a starter pack, you won't have a variable called Y velocity. You'll just want to come up here to make a variable, and you can create one, okay? But I've already created it for you. So we're going to set our Y velocity to 0 every single time the game begins. All right, now we need to go get some loops. So go to your orange control circle and grab a forever loop and then 2 if-then loops and stack those if-then loops on top of each other inside your forever loop. So each of these will be for our arrows, okay? Our left arrow and our right arrow that we'll be hitting on our keyboard. So go to your sensing circle and grab the 7th block down that says key space press. You want to bring out 2 of those, place those inside the shadows. Now let's go ahead and do our, not left and right arrows. Today we'll be using our up and down arrows. So let's set that top turquoise block to our up arrow and our bottom turquoise block to our down arrow. Okay, Now we want to tell Sonic to always be changing Y, which means going up and down, by whatever our variable is set to. So if you go to your blue motion circle, scroll down to the bottom, and then count up 7 blocks, you'll see a block that says change Y by 10. This needs to go inside your forever loop, but on top of that first if then loop. So it's just right underneath the word forever. And then go back to your variable circle and grab your little Y velocity variable. We're actually going to drag that out and stick that on top of the 10. Okay, now our code says forever, if I click on the green flag, then forever I want to change Y, which is going up and down, by whatever my Y velocity variable is set to. And right here, we have our Y velocity variable set to 0. That means Sonic won't be going up and down at all. He'll just be sitting there. Now I want to add some code that says, but if I hit on my up arrow, I want Y velocity to be a positive number, which is going to make my guy move up, and a negative number would make him move down. So inside our if then loop right here, we want to grab our set block from the variable circle, and we're going to set our Y velocity. Let's try a 4 to begin, okay? And then whenever we hit our down arrow, we'll want that to be a negative 4 because negative numbers make you move down. So go ahead and bring out the set block again and set your Y velocity to negative 4 for your down arrow. Okay, go ahead and test it out. I'm going to take my music out so that you don't have to listen to that. But go ahead and turn your green flag on and try hitting your up and your down arrows. I know Sonic's upside down right now. We're going to fix that. But you can see each time you tap on those, he starts to float up and down, right? Okay, let's go ahead and get him pointing in the correct direction. So if you go up to your blue motion circle, about halfway down, you've got a block that says point in direction 90. Let's stick that right underneath our green flag. Whatever way this arrow is pointing, that's the direction Sonic will point. So now I'm just going to leave it set to pointing to the right. Now when I turn my green flag on, he is now facing the correct direction. Okay, now I think it'd be pretty cool if when I move him up and down, if he kind of tilts, like his nose goes a little up and then he does a little nose dive. So in your blue motion circle, the second block down, it has a little turn 15 degrees. We're going to put that right underneath our down arrow block, okay? And then the third block down with the arrow pointing the other direction, we're going to bring that one out and put that right underneath our up arrow block. Okay, now let's turn these down. This is how far Sonic is going to rotate each time we click the up and the down arrows. Let's just put 2s here. Okay, we just want him to rotate ever so slightly. So now see how when I hold my up and my down arrows, he kind of angles back and forth. If you don't like that, go ahead and take those blocks out. You don't have to have those in there, okay? And then the 4 and the negative 4, you can change those numbers if you'd like. Just try to keep the numbers the same and then make sure that bottom one is negative. But I'm going to go with 4 today. Okay, next thing that I'd like to do is, let's see. Let's go ahead and get our boulders coming out, okay? So if you click on that boulder sprite, we're going to make a cloning code for our boulder today. So it's cloning, or some of you like to say spawning. It's making copies of itself, and it's going to be shooting towards us. So let's go up to our yellow event circle and bring out a green flag. And then in your orange control circle, you'll want a forever loop. And if you scroll down to the bottom, the second block up from the bottom, it says create a clone of myself. Go ahead and bring that out, okay? Now, the third block up from the bottom says when I start as a clone. So this is where we're going to tell the boulder what we want it to do after it makes a copy of itself. Well, I know for sure that I want it to show up on the right side of my screen. So if I turn my little eyeball on right here, and if I drag the boulder to the right side, let's see what his X number is. So see right here how it says his number is X205. The further to the right that I scoot it, that X number gets bigger and bigger. Now I want that boulder to be clear to the right. So I'm just going to say X300, okay? So go up to your blue motion circle and grab the 9th block. Oh, excuse me, not the 9th block. It's going to be the 10th block up from the bottom. It says set X to 261. Bring that out and let's just set X to 300. That's going to be so far to the right that it's kind of invisible. Then grab the set Y block, which is going to be just 2 underneath that one. And we're going to set Y. Y is how high or how low that boulder shows up. I don't really care. So I'm going to put a pick random block on that. So go to your green operator circle. Your 5th block down says pick random 1 to 10. Let's just tell this boulder to pick a random Y number anywhere from negative 150, all the way up to positive 150. So if you look right here, where my boulder's at right now is a Y negative 4. Clear down here, I just moved it down to Y negative 78. The lower down I go, that Y number increases, okay? The higher I go, it also increases, but now it's positive, okay? So I'm just saying, all right, boulder, pick any Y number you want, and then your X number needs to be all the way to the right. Okay, then I want it to glide across the screen. So go up to your blue motion circle, grab the 7th block down that says glide 1 second to X then Y. Now, if I want it to go all the way to the left, let's see what X number that's going to be. Okay, you can see right here, it's a negative 241. And then the further to the left I scoot it, that number just increases. I'm just going to say, all right, glide all the way to negative X 300. Get it all the way off the screen. And the Y number, for how high or how low it is, I just want that to be the same as whatever it picked up here in my pick random block. Whatever number it picked, I just want it to stay the same. So at the bottom of your blue motion circle, the 2nd block up from the bottom, it says Y position. Go ahead and bring that out and put that right there. Okay, and then after it glides across the screen, I want it to delete that clone. So go to your orange control circle, grab the bottom orange block. Okay, let's turn on our flag and see what happens. Oh my goodness. Okay, we have way too many boulders coming out. They're doing what I want them to do, but they're going kind of crazy, right? So let's control how often those are going to clone. Go to your orange control circle and grab the weight block. That's the top block, and put that right underneath create a clone of myself. Now, I just told that boulder I only want it to clone every 1 second. And see how I have a boulder stuck right here? This is our original one that doesn't move. Let's hide that guy. So if you go to your look circle, grab the hide block, that's down towards the bottom, and put that under the green flag. Now, nothing will show up because we told the boulders to hide. Grab a show block and put that underneath when I start as a clone. Now the original boulder's hidden and just the clones are showing up. Okay, now let's make some adjustments here. So if I want my game to look like it has a lot of depth or perspective, you know how when an object is really far away, it's very tiny. And when it's really close to you, it's really big. Well, let's make some of these boulders small and some of them big. That's going to create kind of an optical illusion to look like some of them are further away. So if you go up to your looks circle, grab the block that says set size to 100%, okay? Let's put that right underneath our show block, and we're going to tell our boulders to pick a random size. So grab that pick random block again from the green circle. And whenever that boulder spawns or clones itself, I'm going to have it pick a random size between 25 all the way up to 125. Go ahead and play around with some different numbers there. All right, awesome. Now see how some of my boulders are big, some of them are small. I love that. The next thing is for how fast they're going, I also want that to be a random number. So I'm going to bring out a random block and put that on my glide speed. Now for this, the bigger the number, the slower those boulders will go. I'm going to have them glide anywhere from 0.8 seconds up to 1.2 seconds. So now some are a little slow, some are pretty darn fast. Okay, so that's all the code we're going to put on there for now. Oh, actually, I'm going to do one more random thing. For how often those are coming out, I'm going to put a pick random block on my weight block. And I'm going to say, pick a random number, I don't know, anywhere between probably half of a second and 2 seconds. Now, if your game's too hard, you can always turn that up so that you don't have quite as many boulders coming out. Okay, awesome. Now, one more thing, I want those boulders to look kind of like they're rotating, like they're drifting out there in space. So let's grab another block from the orange control circle that says when I start as a clone, and let's get those boulders rotating. Go ahead and put a forever loop under that. And then up in your blue motion circle, remember how we have this block that says turn 15 degrees? Let's have those boulders kind of turning as they come out. Okay, that looks really cool. I love that. If you can play around with numbers there, the bigger the number, the faster they'll be rotating. Okay, now let's do the same thing for our rings. We want the rings to basically be coming out just like the boulders. So zoom out of your code, make it nice and tiny, and then drag each of those pieces of code that we created, all three of them, drag them over here onto the ring, okay? Now, when I go over to my ring, all the code is there. It's just going to be stacked on each other. So I have to kind of spread it out. I'm going to zoom back in. Okay, now I should have some rings coming out just like my boulders. Let's see if it's working. All right, it is working. I feel like the rings are very, very tiny. So you know the block where we said set size and then we picked a random number? I'm going to have those rings pick a random number between 100 and 200. I want them to be a bit bigger. Okay, now I can see the rings a lot better. And then I also think I want to change a few other things. I want them to pick a number between 1 and 3 for how often they clone. And when they come out, I'm going to slow them down a bit. I'm going to turn their glide speed anywhere between 1 and 2 seconds. So now the rings are going to move slower than the boulders, okay? So you can adjust those however you want. Do you want your game to be crazy hard where you have tons of boulders and not a lot of rings? Or the opposite, where you have tons of rings and only a few boulders? You can decide, okay? The boulders will kill you or take down your health. The rings are going to give you points. So go ahead and pick. Okay, next thing that I would like to do, let me take a look at my notes here. Okay, this is going to be fun. We're going to create some code that says when Sonic runs into a boulder, he's going to go into kind of a spin and get knocked off the screen for a minute. Okay, it's going to look awesome. So let's go on to our Sonic sprite and go ahead and grab a green flag and place that out there by itself. We're making a new line of code here and a forever loop. And we'll also need an if-then loop. Okay, now we're going to say if touching a boulder, then what happens? So inside the shadow right here, we need a touching boulder block. So go to your sensing circle, grab your touching block from the very top, and instead of mouse pointers, switch that to boulder 1. Okay, so now it says, if Sonic touches boulder 1, then what happens? Well, we are going to need, let's see here, 6 repeat loops. So in your orange control circle, the second block down says repeat 10. Bring out 6 of these, stack those on top of each other, make sure that they stay inside the if-then loop, and be very careful that you don't put your repeat loops inside each other like this, okay? You want them all to be stacked on top of each other. It'll kind of look like, they look like a bunch of dinosaur heads. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I need 1 more to make 6. Okay, we can leave all of those numbers set to 10, but we're going to say we want Sonic to kind of move off the screen and then come back. So since he'll be moving side to side, that's called changing X. Remember, X is side to side, Y is up and down. So go up to your blue motion circle, scroll down to the bottom, count up 9 blocks from the bottom, and you'll see a block that says change X by 10. We need to bring out 6 of these and stick them inside all of the if-then loops, or excuse me, all of the repeat loops. I'm just going to duplicate mine. You can either bring them out individually or bring one out and duplicate those. Right-clicking them will give you the option to duplicate those. Okay. Now, there's certain numbers we need to set on each of these. Your top blue block, you're going to set to a -10. Your second blue block will be a -5. Your third block will be a -2. And then we're going to do the opposite of that. We're going to do a +2, a +5, and then a +10. Okay, let's see what happens so far. So when Sonic runs into a boulder, okay, it's kind of working. We need to add a few more blocks. See how he'll kind of bounce back and then he comes back. I feel like it doesn't look very good. I think if he's spinning and he's rotating, that's going to look a lot better. So let's let's actually duplicate this code. Right click it, hit the word duplicate, and bring another of the same code right here next to it. Okay, take everything out of the if-then loop. So grab that top repeat block and throw that away. All right, now go to your orange control circle, grab the repeat loop, the second block down, and we're going to repeat this one 50 times. And then go up to your blue motion circle and grab the turn block. Okay, either one, it doesn't matter. And when Sonic gets hit, I want him to turn 50 degrees 50 times. That's going to look crazy. So let's see what happens now. He's floating up and down. Go ahead and test your game out. Uh-oh, I can't hit a boulder even if I try. I need to put some more boulders in my game. There we go. Okay, now see how he's spinning each time he hits a boulder? Now, sometimes he gets stuck in a weird angle. So after he gets knocked out into space, I want him to go back to pointing in direction 90. So I'm going to grab another point in direction 90 block and stick that right underneath my final repeat loop. So make sure it's inside that if-then loop. Okay, that's a lot of fun. Go ahead and test that out, pause the video, and play around with it if you want. If you'd like to add a sound effect, go up to your sound circle, grab the start sound block, and put that right on top of that repeat 50 block. And then you can go into the Scratch library and pick out a fun sound effect that will play each time he gets hit. So you can go to your sound tab up here, and then down in the bottom left corner, go to choose a sound, and go ahead and pick one of these out. Once you click on the sound that you've chosen, it'll get added to your menu. When you go back to your code tab, now that sound you selected will be an option in your drop-down menu. Okay, I'm going to take my sound block out just so that you don't have to listen to my sound effects today as I'm showing you the class. It'll be a little bit easier to follow along that way. Okay, next thing we need to do, let's build some code for what happens if Sonic collects a ring. So if you come down here to our ring sprite, for this code, we can't use a green flag since we're using clones today. We need to get the block that says when I start as a clone. So that's in the orange control circle, and it's the third block up from the bottom. Okay, now just like we did a second ago, we're going to get a forever loop and an if-then loop. And this code will say, if the ring touches Sonic, then what? So in my little shadow here, I need to go to the sensing circle and grab the touching block. Okay, and switch that to say supersonic. Okay, so if the ring touches supersonic, what do I want to have happen? Well, I want that ring to hide. So I'm going to go up to the look circle, scroll down and grab your hide block. Then I also want a sound effect to play. So go to your sound circle and grab start sound and put that underneath your hide block. There is only one sound available right here. If you don't like that one, then again, go up to your sound tab and then down to the bottom left corner and go ahead and pick out which sound effect you'd like to use, okay? All right, and then one more thing. Up here, see where it says 0 up in the corner of your game? That's keeping track of how many coins we've collected. So go to your variable circle and grab the change rings by 1 and stick that right underneath your sound block. Now, each time you touch a ring, you should get a point up there. The problem is, whenever I hit my stop sign and I start a new game, my score is still stuck at 1. So right underneath my green flag, I want to add a block that says set my rings to 0. Make sure that doesn't go underneath when I start as a clone, because then every time you make a clone, your score will reset. Stick it right underneath your green flag, okay? All right, so we've got our rings going, we've got our boulders going. Let's go ahead and add sprite number 1. So if you click on sprite number 1 and go to the costumes, you can kind of see what's going on here. This will look really cool if it's kind of following behind Supersonic. It's going to make it look, you know, just a little bit more realistic. So this code is very simple. We just need to get a green flag and a forever loop. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. So whenever I click on the green flag, I want sprite number 1 to show up. So I'm going to go to the look circle and grab my show block. And now I need to just set where do I want it to show up? Well, I want it to show up wherever Supersonic is at. So in the blue motion circle, grab the 4th block down that says go to random position and let's set it to Supersonic. Okay, so go to Supersonic. Now let's see what happens. Okay, I can see it kind of showed up. It's not really looking that cool. So if I go to my costumes, I can see that this has several costumes. Let's make those flip through themselves. So go back to your code, up to our look circle, and the 6th block down says next costume. stick that right underneath your blue block. Now let's see what happens. Okay, that looks a lot better. Now sprite number 1 is switching through its costumes. And it kind of gives Supersonic some cool, I don't know what you would call those, stars, I guess, shooting out behind him. Okay, next, we need to get our score a little bit dialed in. So see right here, I kind of have lives. And each time I hit a boulder, I want that to go down by a negative number. So let's go to, where should we do this? Let's go to the Supersonic sprite. And let's use messages, okay? So each time Sonic touches a boulder, I want to send a message out saying, hey, everybody, Sonic hit a boulder. So go to your yellow event circle and grab the block that says broadcast message 1. And let's stick that right on top of our repeat loop. And you probably have a sound block here as well. Okay, and let's make a name for this message. I'm going to call it boulder hit. You could just say hit or whatever you'd like to call it. All right, so we're going to send out a message. Now, let's come down here to our life counter sprite. That's our little life counter up here. And when the game begins, I want that to be set to costume 1. And then each time he hits the boulder, I want it to go to the next costume. See how my score is counting down as I do that? So let's get a green flag and let's set our costume to costume 1. So go up to your look circle and grab the 5th block down, switch costume, and set that to costume 1. Okay, when the green flag is clicked, go to costume 1. Now go to your yellow event circle and grab when I receive. Okay, whatever you called your message, let's set it to that. So mine says, when I receive boulder hit, go to the next costume. So I need to go up to my look circle and grab the 6th block down that says next costume. Okay, so now each time that boulder hits me, I'll flip to the next costume. Okay, go ahead and pause here. Test it out if you'd like. Now I'd like to create a code that says, if I get down to costume 11, so let's check out costume 11. That is the one that says I have 0 lives left. That's when I know I've lost the game and it's game over. So I'm going to build this right. Let's see, where should we build this? I believe we can just build it right here, okay? So let's grab a green flag and a forever loop. And we'll also need an if-then loop. And I'm going to say if costume equals 11, then game over. So if you'll go to the green operator circle and grab the block with the equal sign on it, that's going to be your 8th block down. And then we need to go back up to our looks circle, scroll down to the bottom, and the 3rd block up from the bottom says costume number. Okay, bring that out and put that in the first white circle. Now I want it to say if costume number equals 11, then send out a message that the game is over. So let's go up to our yellow event circle and grab the broadcast block again and make a new message. This one's going to be called game over. Okay, now when the game is over, I want the boulders and the rings to disappear. So I'm going to come over onto my boulder sprite, zoom back into my code, and I'm going to grab when I receive boulder hit, then I need this boulder to disappear. So I'm going to go up to the look circle and grab a hide block. Now, if you have a hide block, make sure you've got a show block. Okay, we do have a show block, so perfect. Now I want that same code. Oh, that's supposed to say game over though. When I receive game over, then hide. I want that same thing to happen to my coins. So instead of just building it again, I'm just going to drag it over onto my ring sprite. Or sorry, I said coins. Let's make sure it went over there. Okay, perfect. When I receive game over, then hide. Now, if my game is over, I want Sonic to say a little message like, or like, try again, kid, or something like that. So on my Sonic sprite, let's go get when I receive from the yellow circle, when I receive game over, well, then what? Go up to your look circle, grab the say hello for 2 seconds block, and you can make Sonic say something. Mine's going to say game over. Try again, dude. All right, so now we've got our lose code created. Now, how do we win, okay? What do we have to have happen to win? In my game, I'm going to say you need to collect 10 rings. So I'm going to build this on Sonic. And I'm going to say, how should we do this? We'll probably need an if-then loop. So go ahead and grab a green flag. Make sure you're on your Sonic sprite, a forever loop, and an if-then loop. And then let's go to our green operator circle, grab that equals sign again and put that in the shadow. And then on that 50, put the number of coins that you need to win. I'm going to say 10. 20 or 30 might make your game a bit harder, so you could try that as well. Then go to your variable circle, grab your little ring variable. Okay, now it says, if my rings equal 10, then what? Well, I want Sonic to say a message. So I'm going to come up to my look circle and get a new message this time. And when he wins, it's going to say, awesome. Let's see. Awesome, you win. Okay, go ahead and type whatever you'd like there. And then I want the boulder and the ring to hide if I win too. Whether I win or I lose, I want the boulder and the ring to stop coming out. So I'm going to broadcast a little message here when I win. So grab your broadcast block. Let's put it on top. We want the message to broadcast before Sonic says his little thing. And let's make a new message called win. Okay. Now on the boulder and the ring, I'm going to add a code very similar to this one. So go over to your boulder sprite that says, when I receive the message that I've won, then go ahead and hide. So I'm just going to duplicate my little hide block right here. Okay, we'll also want this exact same block over on our ring. So you can just drag that onto the ring. Remember, code is a lot easier to drag if it's tiny. And you have to wait until that ring wiggles. That's when you can drop it. If you're having a hard time with that, another option is to open up your backpack, drag the code down into your backpack, and then you can come over onto the ring and you can pull that code out of your backpack. That's another way you can do it as well. Okay, so I hope you've been pausing as we've gone along. You're testing stuff out. If your game feels way too easy, then you probably need your rings to come out less often, or maybe you need your boulders to come out more often. So adjust everything and get it to the difficulty that you like by increasing and decreasing the speeds and the clone time set on your boulder and your rings, okay? All right, I think that's all the code that we're going to need. I'm just double checking my notes here. Okay, awesome. That was so much code. So a couple of reminders. If you'd like to save your game, there's a green remix button up at the top. You can save it, and then you can hit this orange share button. Once you've given your game permissions to be shared, all you got to do is copy and paste your link up here from the web browser. And you can paste that into the YouTube comments. You can email that out to friends and family. People can go in and see your code and try out your game. Okay, so that's a lot of fun. You can also make your game a lot bigger by hitting these 4 arrows up here in the top right corner. It might be a little more fun to play that way if you'd like to enlarge it. And I think that's everything. So if you want to try out a live class with us, feel free to check out that link in the YouTube video description. That'll take you to where you can sign up for live classes, or stay tuned for next week. And we'll keep releasing these YouTube videos. Let me know if you like the longer games, or if you'd like just shorter tutorials, or if you have a specific request. I'd love to see that as well. Okay, everybody. Awesome job. I'll see you next time. Thank you.